If you marry me, I can stop the war, human, said the alien queen. Star clusters flickered like distant fireflies, but Daniel's mind was not on the beauty of space. He was thinking about the Valorians, the alien race that had threatened human colonies for decades. Their fleets were enormous, their weapons deadly, and their reputation for ruthlessness had spread across human space. The mission Daniel led was simple but dangerous. He was supposed to meet the Valorian delegation to negotiate a peace treaty. Simple, in theory. Dangerous in reality. The moment the humans entered Valorian space, the air was tense. Every Valorian ship they passed seemed to watch them, as if they were not welcome guests but fragile creatures walking into a lion's den. Daniel rubbed his jaw and sighed. "I hate this waiting," he said quietly. His first officer, Lieutenant Hannah Moore, glanced at him with a raised eyebrow. "You always say that, Captain, and you've survived every tense meeting so far. You'll survive this one too," Hannah replied. Her calm voice tried to cover the nervous tension she felt as well. Daniel nodded, but his thoughts were elsewhere. He remembered the messages intercepted from the Valorian fleet. They weren't just patrolling human space. They were planning an attack, not small skirmishes. Full destruction. Colonies could disappear in days. Thousands of lives could be lost. And all humans had was a fragile hope that diplomacy might work. The Ardent moved slowly through the rift, escorted by smaller human ships. Daniel could feel the weight of every decision he might make. One wrong move, and this peace mission could end in disaster. "Captain, we're approaching the Valorian flagship," Hannah said, her voice steady. "They're expecting us in orbit above their capital world." Daniel stood and adjusted his uniform. "Very well, let's hope they're ready to talk." The Valorian flagship was enormous. It was shaped like a crescent, glowing faintly with light from within. Unlike human ships, it did not look mechanical or cold. It looked alive. The hull shimmered as if made from a strange metal that breathed with the ship. The humans docked carefully, and soon Daniel and his team were escorted into the main chamber. The chamber was vast and open. It glowed with soft light from crystals embedded in the walls. Standing at the far end was the queen, Liara. She was taller than a human, with pale blue skin and eyes that glowed like liquid silver. Her hair flowed like silk, almost alive with movement. Around her were Valorian guards, perfectly still and silent. Daniel's breath caught. She did not look like a creature of war. She looked calm, almost sad, but there was a power about her that made Daniel step carefully. "Captain Daniel Harper," she said. Her voice was melodic, soft, but commanding. "We have waited for this moment." Daniel bowed slightly. "Queen Liara, thank you for receiving us." She studied him for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, she stepped closer. "Captain," she said, and Daniel noticed her voice trembled slightly. "I have something to say, something unusual, something personal." Daniel frowned. He was trained to expect anything, but this was unusual even for his experience with aliens. "Go on," he said. Liara's gaze met his, and he felt an odd warmth in her eyes. "I can stop the war, all of it, the attacks, the destruction, but only if you agree to marry me." Daniel blinked. He stared at her in disbelief. "Marry you?" he asked. The words sounded strange, even coming from his mouth. You want me to marry you to stop a war?" "Yes," Liara replied simply. There was no hesitation, no trick in her voice. "This union will unify our people. It will show the War Council that peace is possible, and it will save countless lives." Daniel took a step back. This was not in any manual he had read about diplomacy. No human advisor would ever suggest this. "Queen Liara, I am honored, but I cannot just agree to something like that. I'm a human. You are Valorian, our species. It's complicated." Liara nodded. "I understand, and I know this is unusual, but think carefully, Captain. Every day we delay, human colonies die. Every day we hesitate, blood is spilled. You can save your people. You can save mine." Daniel felt the weight of her words. He thought of the human families on distant colonies. He thought of the children who might never see their parents again if the war started. He thought of the human soldiers waiting for orders, knowing a fleet of Valorian warships could destroy them all. Hannah stepped beside him. "Captain, we need to be careful." "This could be a trap," she whispered. Daniel shook his head. Maybe she's being honest. I've never seen her lie, not in the last 10 minutes at least." He looked at Liara. "How do I know this isn't some trick? How do I know you're not trying to manipulate me?" Liara's eyes softened. "Because I am not trying to manipulate you, Daniel Harper. I am trying to protect my people. And yours, I am trying to protect life. I cannot stop the war without you." Daniel swallowed hard. He had never felt this conflicted in his life. He had faced battles, storms, black holes, and pirates, but nothing had felt as strange and impossible as this moment. A marriage proposal, a chance to stop a war, and a decision that could change the fate of billions. "Captain," one of Liara's advisors spoke. "The council waits for a decision. They grow restless. They do not understand hesitation." Daniel nodded. "I understand, but this is not a decision I can make lightly. Give me time, a few hours. I need to think." Liara tilted her head. "Time is a luxury we do not have. But I will give you until the sun rises on your planet. That is all the time I can spare." Daniel left the chamber and walked down the glowing corridors of the flagship. Every step felt heavy. Every thought crowded his mind. He thought of duty, honor, and morality. He thought of love, companionship, and the strangeness of what Liara had asked. He returned to the observation deck where Hannah and Alex Turner, the ship's engineer, were waiting. "So?" Hannah asked. Her eyes searched his face for answers. Daniel shook his head. "She wants me to marry her to stop the war." Alex laughed nervously. "You have got to be kidding. That's insane. You marry an alien queen to save humanity. This is like a story from some old Earth book." "It's real, Alex," Daniel said firmly. "And it's not just humanity. She said she can save her people too, and she's serious. I've never met anyone like her." Hannah frowned. "Daniel, think carefully. This could be a trap. We don't know enough about her people, their politics, their ways. We could be walking into a war we can't survive." "I know," Daniel replied. "But I also know this: if we say no, billions could die. That's a risk I'm not willing to take lightly." The crew remained silent. Outside, the stars continued to flicker, distant and indifferent, but inside Daniel's heart a storm raged. He thought of the first human colonies attacked by the Valorians. He thought of the families he had sworn to protect. And he thought of Liara, standing tall and brave, offering him a chance to change everything with one choice. Daniel knew that tomorrow, when the first sun rose over Earth, he would have to make a decision. A decision that could end a war or start a lifetime of unexpected challenges. For now, all he could do was prepare. Prepare his mind, prepare his crew. And prepare to face a choice unlike any he had faced before. In the quiet hum of the flagship, Daniel Harper looked out at the endless void of space. And for the first time in his life, he wondered if courage meant more than fighting with weapons. Perhaps it meant opening one's heart, even to the most unimaginable possibilities. And so the human captain waited, for the dawn, for the decision, for a chance to stop a war. The next morning, the soft light of the Valorian capital filled the human ship's conference room. Captain Daniel Harper sat across from Queen Liara, still trying to understand what had happened the day before. Her proposal had been shocking, almost unbelievable, but she had seemed sincere. Still, Daniel knew he could not make a decision without understanding her people and their politics. Queen Liara's eyes followed him carefully. "You are awake early, Captain," she said softly, her voice calm but strong. "I am glad. Time moves differently for you humans, I believe." Daniel gave a small smile, rubbing the back of his neck. "Yes, our days are shorter, but I think we have very little time to waste. I need to understand why the Council would allow this war. And why they would even consider letting me marry you." Liara's lips pressed together. "It is not simple. My people are not all in agreement. Some want peace, some want war. The War Council believes that humans cannot be trusted. They see your species as reckless, dangerous, and unworthy of negotiation." Daniel leaned forward. "But you see differently." "I see possibility," Liara said. "I see a chance to save lives and prevent a disaster. I also see courage in your people, and that is rare in the galaxy. You are different, Daniel Harper, and that difference may save us all." Daniel nodded slowly. He wanted to ask more questions, but he noticed that the Queen hesitated for a moment. Her gaze seemed to drift toward a large window that looked out onto the capital city of her world. Towering buildings glimmered with light, but the streets below were quiet. There was no war in the city itself, yet the tension in the air was palpable. "You must understand, Captain," Liara continued, "not all Valorians want peace. Many have grown accustomed to war. They believe it defines us. They see strength in destruction, and they see humans as weak. They do not believe we can coexist." Daniel felt a chill. "Then why propose this marriage? If most of your people are against it, wouldn't it make things worse?" Liara shook her head. "The War Council cannot act against me, at least not yet. They fear public opinion, and they fear me. This is why I came to you first. I need your help to show them that peace is possible." Daniel thought about her words. They were logical but dangerous. Helping her could unite two species, or it could spark civil war within her people. And if he refused, countless humans would die. It was a choice no one should ever have to make. "Captain," Liara said, leaning forward slightly, "I will show you the truth of our situation. You deserve to see what my people face. Only then can you decide." She rose and motioned for Daniel to follow her. Together, they walked through corridors that seemed alive with light. The walls glowed faintly, and the air carried a strange, clean scent. Guards followed silently, keeping a careful distance. At the edge of the city, Liara led Daniel to a large observation balcony. From there, he could see the Valorian fleets. Hundreds of ships waited in orbit, their hulls shimmering like polished gems. Some were massive battleships, others were sleek, smaller craft. The sight was awe-inspiring, but also terrifying. "These fleets are ready to attack your colonies," Liara said quietly. "Every moment we delay, they prepare for war, and yet most of my people will not question them. They follow tradition, they follow fear." Daniel studied the ships. "You are serious about stopping this war, aren't you?" Liara's silver eyes met his. "I have never been more serious about anything in my life." Daniel felt a strange respect growing for the alien queen. She carried the weight of her people on her shoulders. She was willing to risk everything to save lives, and somehow she trusted him enough to ask for his help. "Then show me the council," Daniel said. "Let me understand their arguments. I need to know why war is their first choice." Liara nodded. "Very well, follow me." They entered a large chamber filled with Valorian officials. The air hummed with quiet tension. Daniel felt every gaze on him as he walked across the floor. Some looked curious, some suspicious, and some openly hostile. At the center, a group of the council leaders awaited. They were taller than humans, with sharp features and eyes that glowed faintly. "Captain Daniel Harper," one of the leaders said, his voice deep and commanding. "You come to our world as an ambassador, yet you sit beside the Queen who offers unusual proposals. Do you understand the gravity of your presence?" "I do," Daniel replied. "I am here to negotiate peace. I do not seek to interfere with your politics, but I want to understand why war is the first option for your people. I want to see what is driving this conflict." The council murmured among themselves. Liara placed a hand lightly on Daniel's shoulder. "They may test you, Daniel, but do not fear them. Speak truthfully. Show them the human way of thinking. Perhaps they will listen." Daniel nodded. He knew that the next hours would be critical. The council questioned him for hours, asking about human history, military strength, and diplomacy. Daniel answered honestly, avoiding exaggeration but showing confidence. He spoke of human resilience, their ability to adapt, and their willingness to protect life. Slowly, he noticed that some council members leaned forward, listening intently. Others, however, still glared with suspicion. At one point, a council member asked, "Captain Harper, why should we believe that humans are capable of peace? Your species has fought wars among yourselves for centuries." Daniel paused. "Because despite our past mistakes, humans learn, we grow, we adapt. And we protect those we care about. If we can unite, we can achieve things no other species can. That is why I am here. That is why I want peace, not because it is easy, but because it is necessary." There was silence in the chamber. Daniel could feel the weight of every word he had spoken. Then Liara stood and addressed the council. "They are right," she said simply. "Captain Harper speaks the truth. Humans are not perfect, but they have courage and wisdom that we lack in certain ways. If we are to survive, if we are to save lives, we must act differently. This war can end, but only if we act together." Some council members shifted uncomfortably. Others whispered to each other. Daniel could see the conflict in their eyes. The war that seemed inevitable yesterday now seemed uncertain. After a long silence, Liara motioned for Daniel to follow her again. They walked to a smaller chamber away from the council's scrutiny. "You did well," Liara said softly. "Not all humans could speak so clearly to them. You have shown strength, wisdom, and courage. You have already begun to influence my people." Daniel rubbed his forehead. "It's still not enough. Many of them still want war. How can we convince them all?" Liara smiled faintly. "We cannot, not all at once, but we can show them a better way, and that is why I asked you for your help. I need someone who can teach them, who can guide them, who can show them that peace is stronger than fear." Daniel looked at her carefully. "And this marriage proposal. You still believe that is necessary?" Liara nodded. "It is not about love, not yet. It is about unity. My people will see a human standing beside me as a symbol of trust. It will show them that we are serious about ending this war, and it will save lives. Daniel took a deep breath. He was beginning to understand the depth of the Queen's plan. It was bold, dangerous, and perhaps the only way to prevent bloodshed. "I will consider it," he said finally. "I need to see the full picture. I need to understand your people, your strengths, and your weaknesses. Only then can I make a decision." Liara's silver eyes gleamed with a mixture of hope and relief. "That is all I ask. Take the time you need. I will guide you, and together we will uncover the truth. And perhaps together we can save both our peoples." Over the next few days, Daniel moved through Valorian cities, meeting scientists, soldiers, and citizens. Everywhere he went, he saw the tension and fear that came with living under the constant shadow of war. He saw families hiding in fear of conscription. He saw soldiers trained from birth to fight. And he saw leaders who valued tradition over life itself. But he also saw the courage that Liara had spoken of. Citizens who spoke quietly about wanting peace. Soldiers who questioned orders they did not understand. And in the Queen herself, he saw a willingness to risk everything for the greater good. Daniel realized that the Valorians were not inherently cruel. They were proud, stubborn, and fearful. And like humans, they had the capacity to grow, to change, and to choose life over death. One evening, Daniel and Liara stood together on the observation balcony once more. The twin suns of her world set slowly, painting the sky in shades of gold and violet. "You see now, don't you?" Liara asked. "They are not monsters, they are my people, and they can be guided. With courage, patience, and wisdom we can save them, and save yours as well." Daniel nodded. "I see it, and I think I understand why you asked me to marry you. Not for love, not yet, but for hope." Liara reached out and touched his hand lightly. "Hope is the strongest weapon we have, Daniel, and I believe that together we can wield it." As the suns disappeared behind the horizon, Daniel Harper felt a strange mix of fear and determination. The choice ahead would not be easy, but he knew that he could not walk away. Not when so many lives depended on his courage, his wisdom, and his willingness to embrace the impossible. And so, Daniel prepared himself for the next stage of this delicate dance between two species. He would learn, he would fight, and perhaps he would discover that humanity's greatest strength was not in weapons or ships, but in understanding, courage, and the willingness to stand beside the unknown. The war might still come. But with Liara at his side, Daniel Harper believed perhaps they could stop it. Captain Daniel Harper had been on the Valorian world for several days now. Each day brought new challenges, new lessons, and new discoveries about the alien culture he was trying to understand. He had begun to see that the Valorians were not monsters. They were proud, disciplined, and sometimes cruel, but also capable of kindness, curiosity, and courage. Liara guided him through the capital city again, this time to meet members of the council who were more hesitant and secretive. Daniel noticed how her presence commanded respect. Even council members who clearly disagreed with her ideas hesitated before speaking. She was their queen, but she was also more than that. She carried the weight of her people, and they knew it. "You must pay attention, Daniel," Liara said softly as they entered a chamber where 3 council leaders waited. "Not all my people trust you. Some think humans are clever and dangerous. Some believe you will manipulate me. You need to show them your honesty." Daniel nodded. "I understand. I will speak truthfully, but I worry that honesty may not be enough." The council leaders regarded him coldly. Their eyes were sharp, almost piercing. The tallest among them, a male named Varrock, spoke first. "Captain Harper, you speak of peace, yet you have been trained as a soldier. Your species thrives on war. How can we trust that your words are not lies? That your presence here is not a trick?" Daniel met his gaze steadily. "I am a soldier, yes, but I fight to protect, not to destroy. Humans have learned from our mistakes. We do not seek war, we seek survival, and we seek peace. I am here because I want to prevent death on both sides. I do not want your people to die. I do not want my people to die. I want both our species to live." Varrock frowned. "Words are easy, Captain. Actions are difficult. We have never seen humans act beyond their own interests." Daniel took a deep breath. "Then watch me act. Watch how I approach your problems. Watch how I try to save lives. I do not ask for blind trust. I only ask for the chance to prove that humans can do what we say." Another council member, a female named Celira, tilted her head. "And if your actions fail, if humans cannot prevent war, what then? How do we know that you will not bring ruin to us all?" Daniel paused. This was a difficult question. He could not promise perfection, but he could promise effort and courage. If I fail trying. But I will not stand idle while lives are lost. I will do everything in my power to stop this war, and I will not give up until it is over. There was silence in the chamber. Daniel felt the weight of their judgment pressing down on him. But he also felt Liara's hand lightly touch his arm, a silent encouragement. He drew strength from her presence, realizing that their partnership was more than symbolic. It was real, and it mattered. "You speak boldly, human," Varrock said finally, "but words do not change history." "We will see if your courage matches your speech," Daniel nodded. "Then I will show you. I will act, not just speak." After the meeting, Liara guided Daniel to a quieter part of the palace. They walked along a balcony overlooking a vast garden filled with strange, glowing plants. The air was warm and fragrant, and for a moment Daniel felt a small relief from the tension of the past days. "You are different from what I expected," Liara said softly. "I feared that humans would be too simple, too reckless, but you think differently. You see more than the obvious. That is why I asked for your help." Daniel smiled faintly. "I try, but I am still learning. Your people are complex. I do not yet understand all your rules, your traditions, your politics. How can I navigate all that?" Liara looked at him with her glowing eyes. "By listening, observing, and being honest, you have already begun, and that is why some in the council are listening to you, even if they do not admit it." As the days passed, Daniel spent more time learning about the Valorians. He saw their cities, their schools, and their training facilities. He watched young soldiers learn the art of combat, and he saw older leaders make decisions that affected millions of lives. He began to understand the pressures Liara faced daily. One evening, as Daniel walked through the palace halls, he overheard a conversation between two council members. They spoke in low, urgent tones, unaware that he was nearby. "We cannot allow her to continue," one said. "If she convinces the humans, the council will lose all authority. War is our only way to maintain control." The other council member nodded. "I agree. The humans' presence is dangerous. The queen is weak for trusting him. We must act before they unite against us." Daniel's heart raced. This was more serious than he had imagined. Some of Liara's own council were plotting against her and against him. He knew he had to tell her carefully without alarming her unnecessarily. He sought Liara in her private chamber and found her studying a holographic map of the fleet. "Liara, I overheard something," he said quietly. "Some members of your council are planning against you, against us. They do not want peace, they want war." Liara's eyes narrowed. "I feared this, but I did not expect them to speak so openly. You are sure of what you heard?" Daniel nodded. "Yes, they are serious, and they are dangerous. If they act, it could undo everything we are trying to achieve." Liara placed a hand on his shoulder. "Thank you for telling me. We must be careful, but we cannot let fear stop us. If we show strength, wisdom, and unity, even those who oppose us may reconsider." Daniel realized then that Liara was not just brave, she was clever and strategic. She understood that fear and courage had to be balanced carefully, and he admired her for it. Over the next days, Daniel worked closely with Liara to uncover the council's plans. They observed meetings, listened to advisors, and carefully gathered information. Every step was dangerous. One wrong move could expose them to assassination or sabotage. One night, while reviewing holographic records in the palace archives, Daniel found proof of a plot. A group of council members planned to sabotage the human delegation's ship, making it appear as an accident. The goal was to eliminate him and force Liara into compliance with war. He confronted Liara quietly. "They plan to destroy our ship. They want me dead." Liara's face hardened. "Then we must act before they can. We will not let them succeed. We will protect your people, my people, and the chance for peace." Daniel felt a surge of determination. He had faced many battles, but this was unlike any he had fought before. This was a battle of minds, strategy, and trust. He realized that saving lives required more than courage. It required careful planning, patience, and unwavering focus. Together, Daniel and Liara devised a plan to expose the conspirators. They would gather evidence, present it to the full council, and show that those plotting against peace were a threat to all Valorians, not just humans. It was risky. If they failed, the war would begin and countless lives would be lost. As they worked, Daniel began to understand Liara in a deeper way. He saw her fear, her determination, and her willingness to risk everything. and slowly he began to feel something unfamiliar, a trust, perhaps even admiration that went beyond duty or strategy. One evening, as they watched the stars from the observation balcony, Liara spoke softly. "Daniel, I know this is difficult, but you have done more than any human could have imagined. You are brave, wise, and patient, and I trust you." Daniel looked at her, feeling the weight of her words. "I trust you too, Liara, and I will not fail, I promise that. We will stop this war together." Liara smiled faintly. "Then we are already stronger than the conspirators think. They may have numbers, weapons, and tradition. But we have courage, truth, and unity. That is more powerful than any fleet." As the sun set, casting long shadows across the city, Daniel felt a new sense of purpose. He was no longer just a human captain in an alien world. He was a partner in a plan to save millions of lives. And he understood that humanity's greatest strength was not just in their weapons or ships. It was in their courage, their compassion, and their ability to stand for what was right, even in the face of danger. The conspirators might still move, and the war might still come. But Daniel Harper was ready. He would fight, not with lasers or bombs, but with strategy, trust, and determination. And with Liara by his side, he believed that peace was possible, even against the strongest odds. Captain Daniel Harper woke early to the hum of the Valorian flagship. Today felt different. He could not shake the uneasy feeling in his chest. The warning signs had been clear. The Council conspirators were moving faster than expected, and the chance of an attack was real. Daniel knew that every step would require precision, caution, and courage. Liara met him at the observation deck. Her silver eyes reflected the light of the twin suns, and Daniel could see the determination in her gaze. "Daniel," she said quietly, "they may act today. We need to be ready. The conspirators are bold. They believe they can remove you and force me to follow their orders. But we cannot let them succeed." Daniel nodded. "I've been reviewing their movements. They are planning something subtle, something designed to look like an accident. If we are not careful, it could succeed without anyone realizing it until it is too late." Liara placed a hand lightly on his arm. "Then we act first. We must expose them before they have a chance to strike, and we must protect both our peoples at the same time." Daniel felt the weight of her words. This was no longer a test of diplomacy alone. It was a race against time, a battle of strategy where lives hung in the balance. He had faced dangerous situations before, but this was different. This was personal. The lives of humans and Valorians alike depended on his decisions. They began by quietly observing the Council's activities. Daniel had learned to read the subtle signs, the way certain members whispered in private, the secret meetings, the coded communications. Every piece of information mattered. He and Liara worked together, carefully recording evidence and mapping the conspirators' movements. As the day progressed, tension in the palace grew. The conspirators acted with more confidence, unaware that their plans were already under observation. Daniel realized that they believed the humans were weak, incapable of influencing Valorian politics. They had underestimated human courage and intelligence, and that would be their mistake. Around midday, Daniel and Liara discovered that the conspirators intended to sabotage the human ship's energy core while it was docked. The plan was precise: create a small explosion that would appear accidental, destroying the ship and killing the human delegation. If successful, the Council would have removed Daniel without directly violating their laws. "This is serious," Daniel said, his jaw tight. "If they succeed, all of this, our work, our chances at peace, will be lost. We have to act now." Liara nodded. "We cannot confront them openly. They would fight back immediately. We need subtlety, precision, and evidence. We will need to expose them to the full Council at the right moment." Together, they devised a plan. Liara would summon the Council to a formal session under the pretense of reviewing the progress of negotiations. Daniel would secretly disable the sabotage devices and collect proof of the conspirators' plot. Timing was crucial. If they were discovered too early, the conspirators might attack directly. If they acted too late, the human ship could be destroyed. Daniel moved through the shadowed corridors, carefully avoiding detection. He entered the maintenance area near the ship and quickly located the energy core. The devices planted by the conspirators were small, hidden among the conduits, but Daniel's sharp eyes spotted them. He used his tools to disable each device, making them look undisturbed. As he worked, he felt a presence behind him. He turned quickly to see one of the conspirators, a tall, stern female named Selara, staring at him. Her eyes narrowed and she whispered in alarm, "What are you doing here?" Daniel's heart raced, but he stayed calm. "I'm inspecting the energy core. Routine check," he replied, keeping his voice steady. Selara hesitated. "You are not supposed to be here." "I am authorized by the Queen," Daniel said firmly. "You should leave before someone notices you here." Selara considered him for a long moment, then turned and left, clearly unsettled. Daniel exhaled slowly. That had been close. He quickly finished disabling the devices and documented their presence with discrete sensors, collecting enough proof to expose the plot. Meanwhile, Liara had summoned the council to the central chamber. Her voice was calm but commanding as she addressed the leaders. "Today, we review the progress of our negotiations with the human captain. His actions have shown courage, wisdom, and commitment. He has also uncovered a dangerous plot that threatens not only him but our people as well." The council murmured in surprise. Daniel entered the chamber, carrying the evidence he had collected. He placed the sensors and recordings on the table for all to see. These devices were planted to sabotage the human ship. The conspirators intended to destroy us, kill Captain Harper, and force the Queen into compliance with war. There was a stunned silence. Some council members looked shocked. Others looked guilty. The conspirators themselves were pale, realizing that their plan had been exposed before it could succeed. Liara's voice rang clearly. "Those who plot against peace endanger all Valorians. We cannot allow fear and ambition to control our decisions. Today we choose life over destruction. Today we choose peace." Varrock, the most powerful of the conspirators, stepped forward angrily. "This is impossible. You cannot accuse us without proof." Daniel held up the sensors and recordings. "The proof is here. Every device, every communication, every secret plan. The Council must act now to prevent further attempts at sabotage. Your actions have been exposed." Some Council members gasped. Others nodded quietly, realizing that the evidence was undeniable. Liara's authority and Daniel's courage had shifted the balance. The conspirators had underestimated them both. Varrock and Selara tried to protest, but the Queen's voice was like steel. "Your plots have been revealed. You will face judgment. And you will answer for the lives you tried to end." Daniel felt a surge of relief. The immediate danger had passed. The human ship was safe, and the conspirators had been neutralized, at least for now. But he knew that the struggle for peace was far from over. After the council meeting, Liara took Daniel to the observation deck. The twin suns were setting, painting the city in gold and violet. "You were brave today," she said softly. "You risked your life to save my people and yours. You have proven that humans are capable of more than we imagined." Daniel shook his head. "I didn't do it alone. You guided me, trusted me, and gave me the chance to act. Without you, none of this would have worked." Liara smiled faintly. "Perhaps. But courage is contagious, Daniel. You have it in abundance, and it has inspired others. Even those who doubted you could see it today. You have changed their minds, and in doing so, saved countless lives." Daniel looked out at the city below. The streets were quiet, but the people moved with a sense of relief, unaware of how close they had come to disaster. He realized that true courage was not only in fighting battles with weapons, but in standing up to danger, making difficult decisions, and protecting life even when the odds were against you. As night fell, Daniel and Liara walked through the palace gardens. Strange, glowing flowers lit their path, and the air was filled with a calm fragrance. Daniel felt a sense of peace he had not experienced since arriving on this world. "You know," Liara said softly, "I asked you to marry me not only to stop a war, but to show my people that courage and trust are stronger than fear. Today you have proven that humans can do both." Daniel smiled faintly. "I still have doubts. There will be more challenges. The conspirators may try again, and there are still many who do not trust us." Liara's hand touched his arm. "Then we face them together. We do not act alone. We have the courage to try, and that is enough for now." Daniel nodded. "You're right. I trust you, Liara. And I believe we can make a difference." In that quiet moment, watching the twin moons rise above the city, Daniel Harper understood something important. Humanity's strength was not only in their technology or strategy. It was in their courage, their wisdom, and their willingness to act when others hesitated. And with Liara by his side, he knew they could face any challenge, even the most impossible odds. The conspirators had been exposed, but the War Council's influence was still strong. Daniel knew that their fight for peace was not over. There would be more plots, more dangers, and more challenges ahead. But for the first time, he felt that victory was possible, not through violence alone, but through courage, trust, and the human ability to inspire hope. And so Daniel prepared for the next step. He would continue to guide Liara, protect the human delegation, and work to unite two species against fear and destruction. The journey was far from over, but today they had won a battle. And sometimes that was enough to keep hope alive. The Valorian council chamber was filled with tension. After the exposure of the conspirators, the remaining council members were quiet, watching the queen and the human captain closely. Today would be decisive. Daniel Harper felt the weight of the moment pressing on him. Every choice mattered. Every word could influence the future of two species. Queen Liara stood at the front of the chamber, her silver eyes glowing with calm authority. "Today," she began, "we decide not only the fate of the human delegation but the future of my people. The conspirators have been exposed. Their plans to destroy peace have failed. And now we face a choice: continue a war that could destroy countless lives or unite through courage and trust." The council murmured. Some were uneasy, others skeptical. Daniel could see the fear and suspicion still lingering in their eyes. But he also saw curiosity, perhaps hope, glimmering where doubt had once stood. Liara turned to him. "Captain Harper, your people have shown courage, wisdom, and integrity. You have acted in ways that have inspired not only me but the council and my citizens. Now the decision rests with us. Together we can stop this war. Together we can create a future where humans and Valorians coexist." Daniel took a deep breath. His heart was heavy with responsibility. He knew what she meant. Her proposal for marriage had been the key to symbolizing unity. But it was not just a gesture. It was a real commitment, a public declaration that humans and Valorians could trust each other. "Liara," Daniel said softly, "I have thought long and hard about your proposal. I understand now that this is not about me or you alone. It is about peace, about lives, about hope. And I accept." A hush fell over the chamber. Some council members gasped. Others looked stunned. Liara's eyes softened and a small smile appeared on her face. "Then it is decided. The union will proceed and the war will end." Daniel felt a strange mixture of relief and awe. He had made a choice that would alter history. He was not just a captain anymore. He was a symbol of peace, a bridge between two civilizations. And he knew that his actions, guided by courage and integrity, had made this moment possible. Preparations for the ceremony began immediately. The palace was filled with activity, but Daniel and Liara remained focused on the larger goal. Soldiers, citizens, and diplomats all worked together, reflecting a sense of hope that had not existed before. Daniel noticed how humans and Valorians interacted, learning from each other, sharing knowledge, and working side by side. The sight warmed his heart. On the day of the union, the chamber was decorated with glowing Valorian crystals. Citizens from both species filled the space, watching silently as the queen and the human captain stood together. Daniel wore a simple human uniform, while Liara's attire shimmered like liquid silver. The symbolism of the moment was clear, two species standing united against fear and destruction. The ceremony was brief but powerful. Liara spoke first. "I pledge my life to the future of both my people and yours. I will act with wisdom, courage, and integrity. And I trust that our partnership will inspire peace across the stars." Daniel spoke next. "I pledge to protect life, to act with courage, and to honor the trust placed in me. I will stand beside you, not as a conqueror or a stranger, but as a partner and a friend. Together, we will ensure that peace is not just a word, but a reality." When they exchanged their vows, a wave of energy seemed to pass through the chamber. Citizens whispered in awe, realizing that this was more than a marriage. It was a declaration that humanity's courage and integrity could inspire hope, even among a species known for war. After the ceremony, Liara and Daniel addressed the council. "Today, we have shown that trust, courage, and understanding can overcome fear," Liara said. "The union of a human and a Valorian is proof that peace is stronger than war. Let this be a lesson to all who doubt the strength of unity." Daniel added, "Humans have always believed in protecting life, in standing up for what is right, and in facing impossible odds. We do not give up and we do not back down, and now we have the chance to do it together with the Valorians." The council members were silent for a moment. Then, one by one, they began to nod. Some spoke words of agreement. Others, still hesitant, accepted the decision as inevitable. The message was clear: the war would not happen. The humans and the Valorians would move forward together. Outside the chamber, the citizens celebrated quietly. Humans and Valorians shared stories, laughed, and worked side by side. The fleets that had once hovered ominously in orbit now flew in formation as a symbol of cooperation rather than threat. Daniel walked among them, feeling a deep sense of pride and humility. Liara joined him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You have done more than I could have imagined, Daniel. Your courage has saved lives, your honesty has inspired my people, and your wisdom has prevented a war. You have proven that humans are capable of greatness." Daniel smiled, feeling a warmth he had never known. "We did it together, Liara. Your people trusted me, and I trusted you, and together we changed the course of history." Over the following days, humans and Valorians worked to strengthen their alliance. Shared projects were launched to improve technology, health, and communication between the species. Citizens from both worlds traveled freely, learning from each other and building friendships. The war that had seemed inevitable a week ago was now a distant memory. Daniel continued to serve as a bridge between the species. He visited colonies, shared strategies for cooperation, and helped train both human and Valorian soldiers in ways that emphasized protection rather than destruction. Everywhere he went, he saw the effects of courage, trust, and action. One evening, as he stood with Liara on the observation deck of the flagship, watching the twin moons rise, he reflected on the journey they had taken. "I never imagined that a marriage proposal could stop a war," he said quietly. Liara smiled, her silver eyes reflecting the light. "It is not the proposal alone. It is the courage to act, the wisdom to choose life over fear, and the willingness to trust each other. That is what has saved us," Daniel nodded, "and humanity will always stand for life, for hope, and for courage. That is what makes us strong." Liara's smile grew. "And that is why I asked you, Daniel. Not because of love alone, but because your people embody the qualities needed to save both our worlds. You are more than a captain, you are a symbol of hope." As the night sky stretched endlessly above them, Daniel felt a sense of peace and accomplishment. He had faced impossible odds, navigated complex politics, and inspired both humans and Valorians to see beyond fear. And in doing so, he had proven something important: that humanity's greatest strength was not in weapons, power, or numbers, but in courage, integrity, and the willingness to act when it mattered most. The next day, the fleets of both species flew in formation above the capital world, a powerful display of unity and trust. Citizens from both species watched from the streets and observation platforms, cheering quietly but passionately. Daniel and Liara stood together at the balcony of the palace, looking out at the scene. "Do you think they will remember this moment?" Daniel asked. "They will," Liara said, "for generations. They will remember that courage and trust can stop wars, that humans can be allies, and that life is always worth protecting." Daniel smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "Then our work is done for now, but I know there will always be challenges ahead." Liara placed her hand on his arm. "Yes, but we face them together, and that makes all the difference." As the sun set on the horizon, Daniel Harper looked out at the stars, feeling the vastness of space and the hope that now filled it. Humanity had once again proven its worth, not through violence or domination, but through courage, compassion, and the ability to inspire others to do what was right. And in that moment, he knew that no matter the future, humans and Valorians could face it together. The war had been stopped, trust had been built, and hope had been restored, and all of it began with courage, action, and the choice to believe in what was possible. Daniel turned to Liara and smiled. "Then let's make sure this peace lasts." Liara smiled back. "Yes, Daniel. Together we will." And with that, humanity's courage shone brighter than any star in the Andromeda Rift, proving once again that when humans act with integrity, bravery, and heart, even the impossible can be achieved.